Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So I apologize if there's a little, I guess, humming in the background. It's the sound of my fan going out. It's been actually very warm today. Got to 81 degrees here in Chicago today. Not a record, but very, very unprecedented warmth for early April. And it got to the point where we opened up the windows because it was getting hot inside and the fan is on. But the point of this video is, as you can tell by the title of this video, a snowstorm is coming. Now, many people felt this warmth across the United States today, and again, it doesn't seem very likely that what I'm saying will happen. But in fact, the cold air that was forecasted to be here late winter, early in February and March, has come down a couple months later and will be unleashing itself this month. And it looks as if the temperatures will be 10 to 20, perhaps 25 degrees below average, and many locations will be seeing frost, freezes, hard freezes, and it doesn't not look really good at all. Now, again, if this was, say, November, if this was November and this frost was coming at an average time, end of the growing season, that would, I guess, be unfortunate. But, hey, it wouldn't really ruin the crops. The crops would get their growing done. If this was early, that would be a problem. As big of a problem as when it's very early, or very, moderately late is 4-7, but combined with a very warm winter. You see, this winter has been extremely warm. There has been temperatures, just 3 to 4 degrees above average for many months, for many countries, for many counties and states. Sorry, not countries. Well, countries you could say across Europe as well have also been seeing a very above average this winter. And that has led to the fruiting, the vegetation, the buds to break out really quicker than average, sooner than average, and that is because of again, the warm temperatures. So whenever a blast of warm air like today comes along, they are ready to bloom and flower. However, then we get a moderately late frost, I would say on the later side, but nothing unheard of. But it comes with such a warm winter that it's just gonna kill all the flowers that started flowering, and hopefully, you can protect it somehow. But that's why I'm issuing this video in such high regard, as this really is just not looking good for a good portion of the country. Anywhere, it's gonna probably, the frost freeze is gonna get as far south as the Arkansas-Tennessee border. So if you live in Indiana, Missouri, have all your fruits blooming. You probably do already, fruit trees are blooming, but it may get killed, all of it. Because of this unprecedented cold that's coming. So yeah, I know. It may. Some people are saying I'm overhyping this, and I'm not. Climate Prediction Center is on board 110% with me on this. This is nothing to be overhyping about. I would never want to overhype this. This is just, I don't like this to see cold air right now. I'd much rather have 70s and 80s. But unfortunately, cold air is coming, and a chance for pretty good snow systems are underway. You can see there's one snow system that will be affecting portions of the New England by Friday, and you can see that Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont will be seeing pretty heavy snow of this. A well-taught a nor'easter, you can see right there, is pretty tight. It has 973 millibars of pressure. That is very strong. Lots of winds and lots of wind and lots of snow with that. That passes through, but the snowstorm I want to really focus on today in today's video is this snowstorm that's coming out from the south early next week around this time. And yes, it's a week out, but the models have been very consistent in showing it, and that's why I'm calling it a possibility of a snowstorm, because it's still not 100%, but you can see that this thing is just a beast. It starts off with lots of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, as it's very above average across those locations. There's enough cold air from the north with this intrusion that's coming through around this time frame, and you can see that we see a giant load of green, which is the rain and precipitation. You can see probably some severe weather across the south as well. Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi as well. That could be severe weather outbreak. But in the north, you could see that nice area of snow just conglomerates, and you can see that South Dakota, Nebraska, and Minnesota get quite a bit of snow, and this moves up and absolutely just bombs out. I mean, 975, that's very strong low pressure. It's gonna be bringing very heavy wind. That would be probably blizzard warnings would be up for this snowstorm, and that would just bring loads of snow. And then after that, we just get unprecedented cold. Up until that point, today it was warm, but then we get a first blast of cooler air after that storm. But then after this possible beast, we could just get one heck of an unleashing of cold air. And you could see even more snow on the way, even from more southern locations like Ohio, Indiana, and into Illinois. So this is really unprecedented, and you can see another system with the cold. So very, very, very cold air for April. And this would ruin, if not completely destroy, many of the early blooming fruit trees that are that were, I guess, fooled by this warm winter. And let's look at some of the total snowfall amounts. Now, don't be scared by this, as this is, I mean, you should be, I guess. This is reality, and this will probably come true. You can see that some of these snowfall amounts are just berserks, and obviously, hopefully, that this higher snowfall amounts stay further to the north, where they are used to this, and where the trees haven't opened up yet, the flowers that buzz. You can see 15, 16, 17 inches of snow. Further down south, maybe only up to 6, but still, that is pretty darn cold, and pretty a lot of snow right there. And then if you look further, that's as far as it goes. But I don't think this is even the whole snowstorm. Yeah, this is not the whole snowstorm in 100%. But still be a little bit more additional snowfall. Probably up to 2 feet, probably in the north. But yeah, very, very heavy snow amounts. If you were to look a couple model runs back, let's see yesterday at this time frame, and we could see that there was still talks about this large system right here. You can see it was just a little bit further to the east and affecting portions of Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan. So the change in track will definitely still occur. The details are still out, for further, I guess, interpretation, and see how everything folds out. But likely a big storm is on its way, and this is not only supported by the GFS, the Canadian supports it as well, and so does the European. Let's look at the Canadian but one model run back, so we could actually get encompassed by the storm, as or this model run could encompass the storm, as the previous model run does not really encompass the storm in its run. Let's look at this. We're looking at the Canadian again, Canadian Meteorology Center, that's the model's name. You can see by Monday they have a big storm by the Kansas, by the Colorado plains, and you can see that it does show a pretty large storm as well, and a different track, a different scenario for the snow further to the south, but still it's showing some sort of disturbance that's pretty major. Let's look at the European. Let's zoom out of this. Let's go back to regions and go to continental United States, and let's look at the 500 height anomalies. And actually, I wanted to go. Sorry about this, guys. Let's go to MSLP so we could look at the strength of the storm, and you can see that the European also shows a very, very strong storm right here, further out to the east, but then it moves out here and just a lobe of cold air behind it. That would be very powerful, and extremely cold air across southern Canada, very cold air, unprecedented cold. And then we'll see what happens after that. The GFS continues at cold for much of the United States, to points where it seems like there is no end. But literally, but the European has been less convinced about that, especially since it only goes out to 240 hours, while the GFS goes out further. You can see it introduces some more milder air, and this is milder in quotation marks, as this milder air would be barely getting to the 50s across much of the locations. You can see 30s, 40s, 50s. This is the daytime high for Sunday, April 19th. You can see 30s, 40s, 50s. 80s restricted to the south, way below average temperatures for the northern U.S., above average though for the southern U.S., and you can see just every day a frost, a freeze. So not good news, very not good news at all. But again, there's not much we could do. I could just alert you about this, guys, so you could be more proactive about this. And show you that the European, you can see, also shows with this first blast, which is coming Friday, and Thursday into Friday. You can see it shows a definitive cool down. Maybe not really. That's one that is too bad. But here's where that beast forms after this giant storm that brings up a lot of warm air and brings a lot of cold air behind it. And you can see that this cold is just unprecedented, bringing single digits down into North Dakota, Montana, and then we move on forward, and you can see just really just hard frosts and hard freezes and hard frost as far south as the Ozarks, so I'm sure that's no good news for those locations. And you can see into northern Arkansas, it gets 28, 29, Oklahoma, Kentucky also probably getting in on some of those frosts. And this continues to go on for quite a while, even after probably this 240-hour time frame. Let's look at the total snowfall accumulations from the European model to see what it's pointing out of this snowstorm. Again, the track will be different from the GFS, and that's obviously very, expected, as these models usually don't agree. But you can see that it shows a band of snow across Minnesota, Wisconsin. That's 8, 9, 10 inches, which is pretty significant. Also, notice how it shows a pretty large storm across Maine this upcoming, these next upcoming days, and you can see easily up to 15, 16 inches of snow, which is impressive. And then we have, just an increase in snow in mid-April. So really nothing that we'd really expect, especially out of such a mild winter. We thought that we were out of the zone of frost to freeze, a big comeback of winter, but it decided to do so mid-April. So let's look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, and let's see how this shows. You can see April 15th through the 21st, so this is already way after the storm, and this is actually out of the European model's guidance reach. 14th, 17th is the last day. These to the 21st, much below average temperatures. The confidence is very high, as indicated by those dark blues. Only locations above average: Florida, parts of California, Oregon, and Washington, and Nevada. That's it. Now let's look at the 6 to 10 day outlook. Very much of the same story, just ridiculously high confidence in this. And again, that's 13th through 17th. So it seems to me that for the past 3 Aprils, the United States has, or at least my area, the Midwest, the northern U.S. has been just unprecedented cold. And even despite what the winter might have been, it's always been cold in April. I recall 2 years ago we got snow on the 21st, and I think on the 9th, something like that. It averaged out to around 4 inches, much above average. And last year we got the 4th snowiest April on record for Chicago. And then this year it could be one of the chilliest ones, as we don't know when this will not continue, or kind of discontinue, as it could stretch on well into May possibly. That's what some of the early signs are showing. If we look at the 3 to 4 week outlook, they're showing a very unprecedented, again, cold all the way into May. So really not good news, but you can see, hopefully this loads. I want to show you can see below average for much of the northern U.S. So not good news, but yet again, that's what it is. We've had a really mild winter. I guess now it's time to pay the price. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking this video. Consider subscribing to this channel. Catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.